Let's talk about the structure of PSM, okay, which I think is new to several universities thinking in India.
Okay.
The fact that it is a for profit arm
Mm-hmm.
at an arm's length from the university, but owned by the university.
Right.
Okay. Describe what was the thinking there and why do you think it should be a for profit arm?
You're dealing, and again, the structure, well, I didn't invent the structure, but I believe that it is one of the reasons that Israel's been relatively good at tech transfer. Because you've got the best of all worlds. You've got exclusive access to the ownership, in fact, of the technology. Um, you know, all of the many, many, many patents that were done during my time. I actually, they've got my signature on them as the owner of the intellectual property. So you've got all of the intellectual property. You've got professionals doing the work who want to do that work, who know the business, and you've got the best chance of bringing money back into the university. I mean, when I say for profit, yes, it's run as a for profit entity, but that money flows back into the university. You're bringing money back in. And you really, it's the ideal cycle of tech transfer, right? The public funding comes in, you fund the research, you commercialize the research, the upside comes back in, funds more research, et cetera, et cetera. It's a cycle of virtue.
Yes, for sure. And the other idea that one of these entities can service multiple universities.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Running a good professional tech transfer organization is expensive. And there is a surprisingly tiny number of universities around the world that make enough money on tech transfer to actually support a structure like that. I mean, we were one of those, but uh, most universities don't. Usually, you don't see it because they're not run separately. They don't have a separate P&L, so you're not really paying for the employees. But if you do look at it separately, those are the numbers. Now, you can set up a professional group of people that will service a number of universities and institutions. You can also, which is something I did as CEO of Yisum, offer services to other institutions. I took on another university. I took on a hospital nearby that we had academic ties with. And then all they have to do is maybe pay for a fraction of a person's time, and we were able to take on the initial costs and then be reimbursed when the invention was commercialized. Everybody wins. We would have a larger portfolio, they would get top-notch service, and that's how it works. Eventually, if they grow and they want to have their own person, fine. But I think that that is a structure that's worth looking at. And I'll say something else. Strangely, when you look at tech transfer, you can service different institutions because they don't really compete with each other.
Right.
And it's something people don't often think of. They think there's competition. There might be competition between universities in other areas, but when you're looking at tech transfer, you're commercializing the research that's already been done.
Yeah.
There's no competition.
And were the clients on the buy side of your IP mostly multinational companies or were they Israeli companies? And what fraction of the total deals were startups? Rough, I mean, high level numbers.
I'd say high level numbers 80-20 licensing versus startups.
Okay.
In terms of the clients, I'd say a mix of multinationals, of local companies. We would also actively offer technologies to potential licensees. And what we would do, and done this quite a few times and it was successful, is contact a multinational, ask them what they were looking for, create what I used to call a reverse roadshow. So they would come to us, and we would have a whole day of showing them technologies in the areas that they had specified. But that requires work because you need to prepare and really show them things that make sense. And we had for example, a very successful company come out of something like that. Company that I brought in, a very large European-based multinational, and they ended up actually focusing on a technology that was still very early. We started with an R&D agreement. Then there was a joint venture created, which they funded, and eventually, some years later, they acquired the whole thing. But it was a very, very successful enterprise that started because we did this work to find them and to offer them a whole range of technologies at different stages of maturity.